My name is Evelyn, and this is the story of the night that changed my life forever. It was a late Sunday evening, quiet enough that I could hear the ticking of the clock echo through the house. My husband, Daniel, had just left for an overseas work trip that would keep him away for 2 whole months. I thought I'd be used to the loneliness by now, but the silence always seemed heavier when he was gone. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, trying to calm my restless thoughts. That's when I heard the faint creak of my bedroom door opening. My heart skipped a beat. Slowly, I turned my head toward the doorway, only to see a figure standing there, his outline dimly lit by the hallway light. It was Ryan, my son-in-law. He looked tense, gripping the doorframe like he wasn't sure if he should step in or walk away. His voice broke the silence. "Evelyn, are you awake?" I sat up, pulling the blanket around me. "Ryan? What's wrong?" He hesitated before stepping inside. His movements were awkward, almost hesitant, like he was carrying the weight of something he couldn't hold in any longer. "I couldn't sleep," he said softly, his eyes avoiding mine. My mind just, it won't stop racing. I motioned for him to sit down at the edge of the bed. He did, his posture slouched, fingers fidgeting restlessly. "Ryan," I said gently, "you know you can talk to me about anything. What's bothering you?" He let out a shaky sigh before finally meeting my eyes. His next words froze me in place. "It's about someone I can't stop thinking about. Someone you'd never expect." My chest tightened. I leaned closer, searching his face for answers. "Who is it, Ryan? Someone from work? From school?" He shook his head quickly, his jaw tightening. "No, not from work. Not from anywhere you'd think a nervous laugh escaped me as I tried to ease the heaviness in the room. Then who is it? Tell me, so I can stop guessing." For a long moment, he just stared at the floor, his hands clenching together, like he was trying to keep himself from falling apart. Finally, he lifted his gaze, and his voice cracked when he spoke. "It's you." The words hit me like a storm. I froze, my mouth opening, but no sound coming out. My son-in-law. My daughter's husband. I couldn't breathe. "Ryan." My voice trembled, barely above a whisper. "What are you saying?" He stood suddenly, pacing across the room like a caged animal. His hand dragged through his hair in frustration. "I know it's wrong. I know I shouldn't feel this way, but I can't stop it. I've tried to bury it, to ignore it, but every time I'm around you, it just gets stronger." My heart pounded so loud I was sure he could hear it. I wanted to speak, to tell him to stop, to shut this down before it spiraled, but something in his eyes held me still. His pain was real. "You don't understand," he continued, his voice trembling with raw emotion. "This isn't just a crush. It's not some fantasy. It's deeper. You're the only one who sees me, Evelyn. You're the only one who actually listens. With you, I feel like I matter, like I'm not invisible." I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "Ryan, this can't be real." "You're confused. You're overwhelmed." He turned to face me fully then, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I've never been more sure of anything." I shook my head slowly, trying to process everything. "Ryan, you're married to my daughter. Do you realize what you're saying?" He stopped pacing, his expression torn between guilt and desperation. "Of course I realize. Do you think I haven't lost sleep over this? Do you think I don't hate myself for it? But no matter how much I try to fight it, these feelings don't go away. They just grow stronger." His voice cracked on the last word, and I could see his chest rising and falling rapidly, like every breath was a battle. I pressed my hand to my forehead, my mind racing. "This isn't love, Ryan." "It can't be." "Yes, it is," he blurted out, louder than before, his fists clenched at his sides, his whole body shaking. Don't tell me it's not real. Don't tell me I'm just confused. You're the only one who's ever truly understood me. Do you know what that feels like? To finally be seen? To finally feel like you matter? His words struck me in a place I didn't want to acknowledge, because deep down I did know. I hadn't felt truly seen in years, not by Daniel, not by anyone, but I couldn't admit that. Not here. Not now. I forced myself to take a steadying breath. Ryan, you're hurting. And I get that. But this, I gestured between us, my voice breaking. This can't happen. It will destroy everything. He looked at me, his eyes wet with restrained tears. I don't want to lose you, he whispered. I reached out instinctively, my hand brushing against his. The contact sent a jolt through me, one I tried to ignore. You won't, I said softly. But we have to find a way to move past this. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Ryan whispered, almost pleading, "What if I can't?" His words lingered in the air, heavy and suffocating. What if I can't? I looked at him, standing there with his chest heaving, his eyes begging me for an answer I couldn't give. My pulse quickened, and I suddenly felt trapped between my responsibility as a mother-in-law and the undeniable intensity radiating from him. "Ryan," I whispered, trying to steady my voice, "you need to think about your marriage, about my daughter, about everything that's at stake here." He took a step closer, his expression raw, almost desperate. "Don't you think I've thought about that 1,000 times? I've tried to shut it down. I've tried to pretend I don't feel it. But when I'm near you, it's like I'm powerless. You don't even see what you do to me, Evelyn." My breath caught. His closeness made the air feel electric. I wanted to move back, to create distance, but my body stayed frozen. "This isn't fair," I murmured, my voice trembling. "Not to me. Not to her. Not to you." His jaw tightened. "Fair," he repeated. "Life hasn't been fair to me for a long time. But you've been the only light I've had in years. You think I chose this? You think I want to feel this way about you?" His words pierced through me, making my heart ache in a way I didn't expect. There was so much pain in his voice, so much longing, that for a fleeting second I felt it, the dangerous pull between us. But I shook my head fiercely, snapping myself out of it. "No, we can't. We can't go there. These feelings will pass, Ryan. They have to." He looked at me then, his face twisted in anguish. "And what if they don't?" Ryan's jaw clenched as if he were holding back everything he wanted to say. Finally, he gave a small nod. "I'll try. But Evelyn, don't ask me to stop caring about you, because that's the one thing I can't do." My throat tightened. I wanted to respond, to tell him something that would ease the storm inside him, but all I could manage was a soft, "I know." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of unspoken words pressing down on us. Then, without warning, Ryan shifted closer. His knee brushed against mine and my breath caught. "Sometimes I wonder," he whispered almost to himself, "what it would be like if things were different. If we weren't bound by all these rules. If it was just you and me." I felt a shiver run through me. My mind screamed for me to stop this, to remind him of reality, of my daughter, of everything at stake. But my heart betrayed me, quickening at the thought of what he said. I pulled away slightly, just enough to put a thin veil of distance between us. "Don't," I said firmly, though my voice wavered. "We can't let ourselves go there, not even in thought." His eyes locked on mine, filled with longing and pain. "But you've thought about it," he said softly, not as a question, but as a statement. I froze. Because in that instant, He wasn't entirely wrong. I tried to cover the hesitation with a shaky laugh. That doesn't matter. What matters is doing the right thing. Ryan's expression shifted, his hope dimming into sadness. He rose slowly from the bed, his voice low. Then I should go before I say something I can't take back. Ryan stood there for a moment, hovering in the doorway as if he wanted me to stop him, to call him back. But I stayed silent, gripping the blanket tightly around me. After a long pause, he finally whispered, "Good night," and slipped out of the room. The click of the door closing echoed through the silence, leaving me shaken and wide awake. My mind replayed his words over and over, his confession, his desperation, and the dangerous truth I hadn't wanted to admit. I lay back down, but sleep refused to come. Every sound in the house seemed louder, every tick of the clock a reminder that nothing would ever be the same again. When morning light finally crept through the curtains, I dragged myself out of bed, hoping a busy routine would distract me. I tidied the kitchen, started laundry, anything to keep my hands moving while my thoughts spun out of control. I was wiping the counter when I heard footsteps behind me. Ryan entered the kitchen, his hair unbrushed, his eyes shadowed from a sleepless night. He sat at the table, pushing a spoon through a bowl of cereal without eating. "Morning," I said softly, my voice breaking the tension. "Morning," he muttered, not looking up. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to face it. "Ryan, about last night?" He cut me off, his voice sharp but tired. "I meant every word. And nothing you say will change that." My chest tightened. I lowered myself into the chair across from him. "Even if it destroys us?" His eyes finally met mine, dark and unwavering. "If that's the price of being honest, then so be it." His words hit me like a knife, sharp, unrelenting. For a long moment, I couldn't respond. I stared into his eyes, searching for even the slightest trace of hesitation. But there was none. "Ryan," I whispered, steadying my voice, "you don't understand what you're saying. If anyone found out, if my daughter ever knew—" He slammed the spoon down on the table, cutting me off. "Do you think I don't know that? Do you think I haven't thought about what this would do to her?" His voice cracked, his frustration spilling over. "But feelings don't just vanish because they're inconvenient." The intensity in his words left me trembling. I wanted to argue, to remind him of boundaries, of loyalty, of the destruction this could bring. But my own emotions tangled inside me like a storm I couldn't quiet. "Ryan, please," I said softly. "We have to be careful. For everyone's sake." He leaned forward across the table, his eyes locking on mine with devastating force. "Then answer me one thing." I swallowed hard. "What?" "Have you really never felt it too?" The question hung between us like a trap. My breath caught, my fingers tightening around the coffee cup I hadn't even touched. My first instinct was to deny it, to shut it down before it spiraled further. But my hesitation, my silence, said more than words ever could. Ryan leaned back slowly, a bitter smile tugging at his lips. "I knew it," he murmured. "You're just too afraid to admit it." Heat rushed to my face, my heart hammering in my chest. "That's not true," I said quickly. This isn't something I can feel." "It's wrong. We both know it." He shook his head, his voice low. "Wrong doesn't make it any less real." I pushed my chair back abruptly, the legs scraping against the floor. "I can't do this conversation right now," I said, my voice trembling more than I wanted it to. Ryan's expression hardened. "You can't keep running from it, Evelyn." "You think ignoring it will make it go away?" "It won't." I stood, clutching the edge of the counter to steady myself. "I'm not running. I'm protecting what matters, my family, my daughter." "You." He rose from his chair as well, his movements sharp. Protecting us? He let out a hollow laugh. You're not protecting anyone. You're just hiding. Pretending these feelings don't exist doesn't erase them. I stared at him, my heart racing. The man who once seemed so shy, so reserved, was now standing in front of me with raw fire in his eyes. It unsettled me. And yet, part of me couldn't look away. I don't know what you want from me, I whispered. His voice softened, but it carried more weight than before. I want honesty. Just once. I want you to look me in the eye and tell me you've never thought about us, about what it would mean if things were different. The air between us thickened, pressing down on me until it felt impossible to breathe. I opened my mouth, desperate to give him the answer that would shut this all down, but instead, all I managed was silence. Ryan's chest rose with a sharp inhale, as if my wordless pause had given him everything he needed. He stepped closer, closing the distance between us until I could feel the heat radiating from his body. You don't have to say it, he whispered. I can see it in your eyes. My breath hitched as Ryan's words lingered in the air. The kitchen felt smaller, suffocating, every inch of space charged with a dangerous energy I couldn't ignore. I shook my head quickly, trying to pull myself back into reality. Ryan, you're crossing a line. This has to stop, but he didn't back away. His voice lowered, steady, and almost pleading. Then tell me you don't feel it. Tell me right now, Evelyn, and I'll walk out that door and never bring this up again. The ultimatum hung like a blade over my head. My throat went dry. I wanted to say it, that I didn't feel anything, that all of this was in his imagination. But the words refused to form. My silence stretched on, betraying me. Ryan's gaze softened, but it didn't waver. That's what I thought, he whispered. I finally forced my voice out, sharp and trembling. Even if I did, it doesn't matter. Do you understand that? Some things cannot happen. They must not happen. His eyes searched mine, like he was trying to pull the truth from me. Slowly, he stepped back, giving me the space I so desperately needed. Maybe you're right, he said quietly, his tone filled with resignation. But that doesn't erase how I feel. And it doesn't erase the fact that you feel it too, no matter how hard you try to deny it. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly chilled despite the warmth of the room. His words were a mirror I didn't want to face, a truth I'd rather bury than admit. Ryan turned away, his shoulders slumped, and started toward the door. I'll give you space, he said softly, but don't think for a second that this is over. The door closed softly behind him, leaving me standing alone in the kitchen. My knees buckled slightly, and I gripped the counter for support. The echo of his words wouldn't leave me. Don't think for a second that this is over. I wanted to convince myself he was wrong, that this was over, that it was just an emotional outburst and things would go back to normal. But deep down, I knew better. The storm he had unleashed wasn't one that could simply pass. For the next few days, Ryan kept his distance. He stayed in his room longer, went out for walks at odd hours, and barely spoke to me unless it was necessary. I should have felt relieved, but instead, I felt his absence pressing down on me like a weight. At night, the silence of the house grew heavier. I found myself lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if he was awake too, battling the same restless thoughts. I hated myself for even thinking about it. One evening, as I prepared dinner, I heard his footsteps enter the kitchen. When I turned, I found him standing there quietly, watching me with an unreadable expression. "Do you need something?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He hesitated, then shook his head. "No, I don't like this distance between us." I swallowed hard, keeping my hands busy with the cutting board. "Maybe distance is what we need." Ryan stepped closer, his voice low but firm. That's not what you want. You miss me too. I can see it. I froze, the knife in my hand, hovering over the vegetables. His words cut deeper than the blade ever could. I set the knife down, my hands trembling. "Ryan, please," I whispered, refusing to meet his gaze. "Don't say things like that." "You're making this harder than it already is." He moved closer, each step deliberate, until I could feel his presence behind me. "I'm not trying to make it harder," he said softly. "I'm just being honest. I can't keep pretending this distance is what either of us wants." My pulse raced. I gripped the edge of the counter, forcing myself to breathe. Honesty isn't always the answer. Sometimes silence is the only way to keep from breaking everything. His hand brushed lightly against mine where it rested on the counter. The touch was subtle, fleeting, but it sent a jolt through me all the same. "You don't have to say it," he murmured. "I already know." I pulled my hand back quickly, spinning to face him. "No, you don't know. You're making assumptions. And even if you're right—" My voice faltered. "It doesn't matter." Ryan's eyes searched mine, desperate and unwavering. "It matters to me." The air between us was unbearable, thick with the weight of everything left unsaid. I could see the torment etched into his face, the silent plea for me to admit what I'd been denying. I took a shaky step back, clutching my arms around myself. "We can't keep doing this." "It's tearing me apart, Ryan." "Then stop fighting it," he said, his voice low, almost breaking. "Stop pretending." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The truth was clawing at my chest, threatening to spill out. But before I could respond, the sound of a door opening upstairs broke the tension. We both froze. The creak of the upstairs door echoed through the house like a warning bell. My heart jumped into my throat as Ryan and I locked eyes, both of us frozen in place. A moment later, the sound of footsteps drifted down the staircase. It was Emma, my daughter, his wife. "Mom," her voice called out sleepily. "Are you still up?" I scrambled to steady myself, forcing my breathing to calm as I quickly returned to chopping vegetables. "Yes, sweetheart," I called back, my voice as even as I could manage. "Just finishing dinner." Ryan took a slow step back, retreating toward the far side of the kitchen, his jaw clenched tight. Emma appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. "Smells good," she murmured, before glancing at Ryan. "You okay?" "You look pale." Ryan forced a small smile. "Didn't sleep much last night." "I'll be fine." She nodded, too tired to question further. "All right, don't stay up too late, Mom." "Love you." "Love you too, darling," I replied, my chest tightening at the weight of the lie in my voice. As Emma disappeared back upstairs, the silence returned, heavier, sharper, suffocating. Ryan exhaled slowly, dragging a hand down his face. "That's what I mean," he said, his voice a whisper meant only for me. This pretending, acting like nothing's happening when it is. It's unbearable." I slammed the knife down on the cutting board, unable to hold the tension any longer. "Do you think this is easy for me?" I hissed. "Every moment feels like I'm walking on the edge of a cliff. One wrong move and everything I love shatters." His gaze softened, but his voice remained steady. "Then maybe it's time to stop walking the edge and choose." His words struck me like a physical blow. Choose. As if there could ever be a real choice here. I stared at him, my lips parted but no sound coming out. My mind screamed at me to shut this down, to end it once and for all, but my heart betrayed me with its violent pounding. "Don't put that on me," I whispered, my voice shaking. "You're asking me to destroy everything, my family, my daughter." "Do you even understand what you're asking?" Ryan stepped closer again, but this time there was no desperation in his eyes, only certainty. "I'm asking for the truth. That's all. No lies. no masks. Just you. I wrapped my arms around myself, fighting the storm raging inside. The truth doesn't always set people free, Ryan. Sometimes it ruins them. For a long moment, he just looked at me, the tension between us vibrating like a live wire. Then, quietly, he said, "Maybe ruin is better than living a lie." The words lodged in my chest, suffocating me. I turned away, focusing on the unfinished dinner, anything to ground myself. But even with my back to him, I felt his presence, the heat of his stare, burning into me. "I can't talk about this anymore tonight," I said finally, my voice low and hoarse. "Please, just give me time." There was a pause. Then I heard him step back, his footsteps retreating toward the hallway. "Time won't change what's real," he murmured, before disappearing into the shadows. I gripped the counter, my entire body trembling. The sound of his footsteps faded, but his words clung to me like a curse. His words struck me like a physical blow. Choose. As if there could ever be a real choice here. I stared at him, my lips parted but no sound coming out. My mind screamed at me to shut this down, to end it once and for all, but my heart betrayed me with its violent pounding. "Don't put that on me," I whispered, my voice shaking. "You're asking me to destroy everything, my family, my daughter. Do you even understand what you're asking?" Ryan stepped closer again, but this time there was no desperation in his eyes, only certainty. "I'm asking for the truth. That's all. No lies. No masks. Just you." I wrapped my arms around myself, fighting the storm raging inside. The truth doesn't always set people free, Ryan. Sometimes it ruins them. For a long moment, he just looked at me, the tension between us vibrating like a live wire. Then quietly, he said, "Maybe ruin is better than living a lie." The words lodged in my chest, suffocating me. I turned away, focusing on the unfinished dinner. Anything to ground myself, but even with my back to him, I felt his presence, the heat of his stare, burning into me. "I can't talk about this anymore tonight," I said finally, my voice low and hoarse. "Please, just give me time." There was a pause. Then I heard him step back, his footsteps retreating toward the hallway. "Time won't change what's real," he murmured, before disappearing into the shadows. I gripped the counter, my entire body trembling. The sound of his footsteps faded, but his words clung to me like a curse. That night, sleep was impossible. I tossed and turned, haunted by every word Ryan had spoken. His confession, his desperation, his certainty, it played over and over in my mind like a relentless echo. I told myself I was strong enough to resist, that I could bury these feelings deep enough to smother them. But in the quiet of the night, when the world was still, I couldn't lie to myself. The truth clawed its way to the surface. I felt it too. The next morning, the house was silent. Emma had left early for errands, leaving Ryan and me alone. I moved through the kitchen, making coffee when I felt him enter the room. His presence was unmistakable, even before he spoke. "Evelyn," he said softly. I turned slowly, my hands trembling around the mug. "Good morning." He didn't bother with pleasantries. His eyes bore into mine with an intensity that left me breathless. "Did you think about what I said?" I swallowed hard. "Ryan, please." "Did you?" he pressed. The air between us was suffocating. I wanted to deny it, to push him away with words as sharp as knives, but my silence betrayed me once again. He stepped closer, his voice a whisper. "I can see it in you." "You feel it too?" I shook my head, but tears welled in my eyes. "It doesn't matter what I feel." "It can't matter." His hand hovered near mine, hesitant but trembling with want. "It already matters." To both of us. For one terrifying, breathtaking moment, I didn't move away. The distance between us shrank until I could feel the heat of his breath against my skin, and then the front door opened. Emma's voice rang out. "Mom! Ryan, I'm home!" The sound of Emma's voice shattered the fragile moment like glass. Ryan jerked back instantly, his chest rising and falling, as though he'd just been caught in a crime. My heart hammered against my ribs as panic surged through me. "In here!" I called. Forcing steadiness into my voice, my palms were damp, my throat dry. Emma appeared in the doorway moments later, bags in her hands and a warm smile on her face. She set them on the counter, oblivious to the storm that had nearly consumed the room. "I picked up a few things. Thought we could all have lunch together." I nodded quickly, masking the tremor in my body. That's a good idea." Ryan muttered something under his breath and excused himself, retreating upstairs before Emma could notice the tension in his face. I exhaled slowly, gripping the counter for support. All through lunch, I forced smiles, nodding at Emma's chatter, but my mind was somewhere else. On Ryan's words, his gaze, the nearness of what almost happened. Every glance across the table felt like fire. Every second was an unbearable reminder of the truth we could never speak. That night, I sat alone in my room, staring out the window. Ryan hadn't come downstairs again, and Emma had gone to bed early. The silence was crushing, yet I welcomed it. It gave me time to think, to decide. When a soft knock came at my door, my stomach flipped. "Evelyn," Ryan's voice. I closed my eyes, torn between slamming the door shut forever or letting it all unravel. Finally, I whispered, "Come in." He stepped inside, his face shadowed with torment. "I can't keep living like this. Pretending I don't feel what I feel. Pretending you don't feel it too." Tears welled in my eyes. "Ryan, if this ever comes out, it will destroy Emma. It will destroy everything." His voice cracked. "Then tell me what to do." "Because I'm drowning." I stood, facing him, my whole body trembling. "We can't change what we feel, but we can choose what we do." He looked at me with eyes that held both hope and despair. For a long moment, the world was silent. Finally, I stepped forward and took his hand. My voice was steady, though my heart was breaking. "We're going to bury this. For her. For all of us." It's the only way. His grip tightened, his lips parting as though to argue, but then he nodded slowly. Pain filled his gaze, but so did understanding. We stood there, holding hands, knowing we had just made a choice that would shape the rest of our lives. When I finally released him, I whispered, "This never happened." "And it never will," he left, without another word. As I sank back onto the bed, the tears came freely. I knew the truth of my feelings. I knew his, but I also knew some lines once crossed could never be repaired. And that night, I vowed to keep our secret buried, no matter how much it tore me apart.